Welcome, everyone. Glad to see you all in this second event hosted by Legal Hackers Riga chapter. And this event and this discussion is dedicated to the future of legal education. My name is Liisi. I'm one of the founders and team members of Legal Hackers Riga chapter. And together with my colleagues Anna Vladimirio Kryukova and Arina Stievriņa, we will be moderating this discussion and hosting this event. As probably not all of you saw our kickoff event, before we start our discussion, I'd like to tell a couple of words about who we are. What is Legal Hackers actually? Legal Hackers is a global movement of lawyers, academics, policymakers, technologists, designers, who are passionate about exploring and developing creative solutions to some of the most pressing issues at the intersection of law and technology. Legal Hackers began in 2012 in Brooklyn, New York, where students at Brooklyn Law Incubator and Policy Clinic, under the supervision of their professor Jonathan Askin, sought to ask the nagging question of how lawyers can leverage the tools and the collaborative open ethos of the technology community to anticipate and solve law and policy problems. Today, since the 2012, Legal Hackers movement has expanded to more than 130 cities in the world, over 6 continents, with new chapters launching all the time. And since June 2021, there's also a chapter in Riga. As I already mentioned, our kickoff event, which had an amazing lineup of speakers, and it was on the topic of legal design. You can still see the recording of it on our Facebook page. So if you haven't done already, please go and check it out. Speaking of amazing lineup of speakers, this event is no exception. So without further ado, I will give floor to my colleague Anna to introduce you to the topic and also to today's speakers.
Liva, thank you very much for the introduction. And I'm Anna, Liva's colleague, and I'm going to co-moderate today's event. So I'm going to, so this event is actually about a problem of education. We as lawyers and technical persons have to cooperate nowadays in order to elaborate some new legal documents. Lawyers actually face a lot of technical knowledge and a lot of technical information, and me also as a lawyer, I have to work a lot with some information security, cybersecurity, information technology related topics. And for many lawyers, sometimes it is a challenge to understand such difficult and sometimes very deeply technical information and documents and other related stuff. So for nowadays, it's actually very important to for lawyers to find some kind of educational source to complement our knowledge in this field. And for this reason, we decided to devote today's event on how we should educate the digital age lawyers. We as lawyers should face many technical information, and where should we get our knowledge about it? Should we go to traditional schools? Should we go to some specific courses in order to get some additional information about IT? And we decided to speak today to universities and other educational organizations to understand how they see the future of educating lawyers in the digital field. And for this purpose, we invited actually a very good line of speakers, as Liva already mentioned. This is the University of Latvia, Riga Stradiņš University, University of Tartu, Riga Graduate School of Law, Turība College of Law. And each of these, we have a very wonderful complement of speakers. You can see them now on screen. And in order to start, I would like to ask a question to actually each of our speakers, each of institutions. So, dear speakers, how you see the future of educating digital lawyers? What should be done in order to so that the lawyers can get the information, the knowledge about information technology as fast as possible, as efficient as possible. So maybe we could start with Uldis.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation to this interesting event. I would like to say that the Stradiņš University is working for these questions related with IT law since 2007. In different ways. We are trying to, at first, bachelor program for legal informatics. Then we are trying providing course for master students, management of information systems, actually, and starting from this year, we created new course, Information Society Law. The question is about digital literacy, which becomes essential point in digital European program as well. And but the main question is how we can, what we should include into this digital literacy. The digital literacy is not just think that people can use Word or PowerPoint, but people should know also to find out some ways how to read open data, for instance, what is machine learning data, how machine learning data may influence some legal texts, for instance, and so on and so forth. That's why I cannot say, of course, our education level or our attempts to give to students some knowledge is not related with some programming issues or some explain what is a code, how code shall be drafted, and in this way. We are touching these issues as far it is related with establishment of legal facts or establishment or creation or deletion of legal facts. This is obviously what is data. What is the data processing? What is information system? But because many legal acts include such definitions, students should understand how to explain. Mostly in criminal law, it's quite valuable, especially for interpretation of criminal proceeding or criminal law. This is the way how we're doing right now.
Thank you, Uldis, very much. Maybe we can, maybe Vadims, can you now provide some information how University of Latvia deals with this challenge?
Thank you for opportunity to speak at this event, and thank you for invitation. I hope you can hear me better than some minutes ago. If we speak about legal studies, technologies, and digital aspects, I agree with the previous speaker that we need to provide knowledge in legal studies for our students about these aspects are for lawyers not always easy to understand. If we speak about legal studies at the Faculty of Law, University of Latvia, we combine traditional, classical, and modern approaches. We pursue an integrative approach. It means that we have a course on general technology law. It means IT law, where we provide general knowledge for general knowledge in all those areas to students. And we discuss technologies and digital aspects in various other courses, starting with procedural courses by discussing with students what does it mean technologies and digital elements in procedural matters such as civil procedure, such as criminal procedure, such as administrative procedure, and also we discuss various aspects concerning technologies and digital as in other substantive law courses. For instance, we discuss them in consumer protection law. Needless to say that we have a specific consumer contract directly related to technologies. It is a distance contract. We discuss digital aspects in intellectual property law, mainly from the point of view of author law, copyright, and also in other courses. So it allows for our students to get comprehensive legal education, but at the same time to understand also digital aspects in close discussion with specifics and various aspects in different legal branches. Also, we conduct and involve students in legal studies, in legal research. So this is how we pursue this at our faculty.
Okay, thank you, Vadims, very much. Maybe, Liene, you could now elaborate on how Turība faces this challenge within general legal program.
Yes, hello, and from my side as well, thank you for inviting. I could agree with previous speakers. We basically do the same thing, but maybe one difference is we are more to the practical studies and practical approach. What we try to do in each course, we involve also knowledge about the tools, what they are in the market, how to use those tools. That, for example, when the student graduates and he ends up in the law office or, I don't know, big consulting firm, he has this knowledge about those tools. What are the programs? What are possibilities actually to acquire some programming and to use it in everyday work? For example, I don't know, life cycle of agreements, that they know that there are such a tools. They're mainly used even in our governmental companies, and that they have this knowledge already by studying, and if it's possible also to show those tools to them.
Okay, thank you. So now we maybe switch on to the schools that have separate programs devoted to combining legal and IT knowledge. So maybe Waleed, could you please describe how you deal with it?
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Legal Hackers, for having me on today. I'd like to sort of, before going into the program, I'd like to explain a little bit about the challenge of what we are talking about today, and that is when we talk about technology law as such. And when we use the word technology, what are we actually talking about? Technology is so big, it's a discipline on its own right with multiple sub-disciplines. Are we talking about internet? Are we talking about finance technology? Are we talking about biomedical technology? Because each of these various areas, and this is just some I mentioned, all present their own legal challenges. Yeah, I don't need to explain to anyone here, for example, with the rise of fintech a few years ago in Latvia, the various regulatory challenges that they faced. So this was sort of at RGSL our starting point. We do have a technology law program, which has been launched and already a few graduates, but it's sort of a more general approach to getting students to understand the various areas where potential legal pitfalls or challenges could occur from emerging technologies. Yeah. We're talking about things such as data. One of the courses we offer is, for example, data and privacy, data protection and privacy, which is already a has-been thing because it's already implemented and a lot of companies should already be compliant or organizations should be compliant. But still, it is something that lawyers would need to know. But at the same time, we want to talk about things like digital regulation. Currently, if we talk about the fintech market, and especially if we talk about things like crypto currencies and so forth, there is no regulation coming from the European Union on these things. There are white papers, there are drafts, but there's at the moment nothing that regulates any of this sort of stuff. And our approach is to try to get students to, or our lawyers basically, or future lawyers, to start thinking about these challenges. So when they are presented in the real world, they may have some background. The real problem I see here with technology law education is that law will always play catch up to technology. Yeah. It's a situation where, I guess to put it in simple terms, when the regulators are trying to regulate technology, it's like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. The technology will simply just outpace all the time the development of new acts, new norms, and lawyers will always have to play, or at least states have two options, either to play catch up and try to create, let's say, more flexible regulation to allow technology to develop, or you end up basically strangling technology development and innovation. So these are the challenges that we face. This is what we try to get our lawyers to understand, but at the same time, a very general approach to, let's say, technology law, trying to show as many facets of the various technologies out there and the regulations and legal aspects surrounding each one.
Thank you, Waleed, very much for your input into the discussion. Maybe Liisi, can you now explain? Might have decided to choose a separate program about the IT law and not implement IT in the legal program. What is the idea behind that?
Thank you so much. Again, thank you for having me here. Thank you for inviting the neighbors as well. I'm very, very happy to be here and represent University of Tartu IT law program. Before kind of the birth of the IT law program, the general master's program had also a single course on information law, which provided kind of a bird's eye view of the bird's eye view, basically. So if you were a regular master's student, you basically became aware of what is data, what is information, but that was about it, and maybe a little bit about kind of your national regulation, right? And so in 2015, we launched the IT law program as a specific program aiming to bridge or provide lawyers that would be bridges between the tech people and the people who are dealing with very traditional areas of law, so that they would be those translators or those bridges that are aware of both what's happening in the technology field, but also the legal regulation and the pitfalls, as Waleed just said, the pitfalls arising with the development of technologies, right? So when we aimed to create this program, we talked to several stakeholders. So we talked to ministries in Estonia, we talked to the prosecutor's office, the bar association, different IT organizations. So what are your needs? So what does a future lawyer for you look like? What do they need to know? What are the things that you're missing right now? And so what kind of drew out from there was that we truly need a program that would fill in the gap in the market, that we would have lawyers they don't need to have in-depth technological knowledge, but they need to be aware of how technology works and how to complement that with the legal framework that's already there. And so putting those two together, that we need to create lawyers with this basic understanding of technology and basic understanding of, okay, so how do we regulate these new technologies, these new technological realities? We came to the fact that we do need a program that would allow us to create lawyers that correspond to the needs of the market today, and needs of the market, not only private market, but also the public sphere and governments, right? And so it became very clear that we need these translators and we need these bridges. And in order to create those bridges, we've built our program in a way that you get almost equal parts of technological subjects that give you a wide-based knowledge of, how does code work? You don't need to be an expert in Python, but you know how code works. You know how the information infrastructure globally works. How does your Facebook message get from one part of the world to the other? How does digital evidence work? So, and on top of that, we add the legal layer. So what are the challenges? What are the regulations? And the aim for this program is, on one hand, to provide you with a specialized knowledge of this broad field of IT law, but give you a broad-based understanding of the overlaps between technology and law, so that if you're interested in whatever in-depth technological topic, that you have the basis to dive deeper into afterwards. So we basically felt the need, especially in Estonia, to create these translators and to create these bridges, and that's why the program is how it is, and that's why it was created almost 6 years ago. Thanks.
Okay, Liisi, thank you very much. Now, Mārtiņš, could you please explain why the College of Law decided also to choose the similar path and to make a specific program that will educate lawyers in technology?
Yeah, hello, thank you for the invitation. Yeah, actually, Liisi quite well did the introduction actually to also our program and our philosophy behind our program. But I would say that our approach was that not all lawyers are created equal. What I mean by that is that there are a lot of jobs out there in the market that actually doesn't have the title lawyer or corporate lawyer in them. There are a lot of jobs, for example, like chief security officer in an enterprise-grade company. You won't get far without any legal knowledge, because this is a C-level executive work that you have to do in a company. So that means that you have to, for example, if you are chief information security officer, you have to know both the technical part of the equation, and you also have to be quite proficient delivering all the findings and all the technical stuff to the board members, for example, or authorities, because you have to cooperate also with law enforcement and other government agencies. So our philosophy was actually to take lawyers or technical persons, incorporate them into our program and give them best of both worlds. So they get practical understanding of how computer systems, how networking works, and some understanding of, they can actually try out what does the hacking mean, for example, because this is cybersecurity focused program, not IT in general. And also we are giving, for those technical persons that doesn't have any legal knowledge, we are giving them IT-specific subjects on legal matters as well. So basically what we are doing, we are trying to do the same bridge building between two worlds.
Thank you, Mārtiņš. It's actually, it was very interesting to hear how all of the schools see the issue of educating lawyers in IT, and what are the ideas that stand behind this, because I guess you described some of your ideas overlapped, but actually some of the purposes that you mentioned did not overlap, and this is very interesting to hear. And now we'll go on to the next question.
Thank you very much. I can only agree with Anna. It was really interesting, interesting to see all the insights and how your academic institution actually approaches teaching law students IT matters and technology-related matters. And also some approaches are more practical. Some approaches aim to integrate IT matters in more traditional courses. And as we already heard, technology law actually is a very broad concept as a law itself, and it has many areas. And we also saw that some of the approaches are quite different. And so it would be, we actually heard something about the reasoning and the background behind actually creating these courses. But this leads me to a question, maybe to Liisi, about the actual contents of curriculum. How do you choose the courses? What is the starting point? Do you look from demand of the industry, or how is it done?
So for us, it was as I also explained, it was a kind of it was half demand from the industry, it was half demand from the government. So our curriculum is built so that the students will get. So it isn't just based on private law. It also has aspects of public law integrated into it. So we went off from the basis of what are the fields of law and technology that we need to incorporate, and then we looked for what are the technological skills that the students of this program should have by the end of it. So we by no means want our students to, in that sense, we don't aim for them to be programmers by the end of it. But we, for example, offer them a technical course of introduction to programming so that they would know how code works, right? As I explained, we offer them a course on information infrastructure and architecture, which explains how global networking and global information infrastructure works. When we talk about public sector, so we have a half technical course on public e-services. So how do we design those services for government? What is the accompanying regulation? How does the process work? How to design those services? We have a basic course on information security that offers everyone an even basis of technological knowledge. So what are the main technological topics that you need to know in order to understand the regulation, in order to understand the current challenges? So we went. It was kind of a dual designing process that we went based off of the demand of the market, so public and private, plus then coordinated it with technical people. So what are the skills that we need to offer our students in order for them to be adequately aware of the technological issues and apply that knowledge to the legal questions as well. So the same thing goes for example, cybercrime and digital evidence, which is really pertinent now in the kind of online past few years. So how do you present digital evidence? What is digital evidence? How is it created? So in that sense, that they would have the technological knowledge in order to understand the legal questions.
Interesting. Thank you. Thanks very much for your input. Waleed, maybe you can say a few words about what was the situation.
Yeah, similar to Liisi, when we came up with the concept of technology law, the question is what do we cover? And we had a lot. I mean, it was about more than 2 years in design, where we were collaborating with various law firms, industry partners, so not only startups, but also established technology companies, some big names. and trying to really understand the market need. But of course, all the partners were coming up with their own specific needs. And what became very clear was that this had to be more of a general program. And the challenges that we faced, of course, are academic regulation. I will use the University of Tartu as an example because, of course, you look at best practices. But one advantage, for example, that Liisi has on her program, they're able to offer more courses because of the way the flexibility in the allocation of credits in Estonia versus what we have in Latvia. Yeah. And what we ended up doing was actually having to really select from a pool of courses due to the limit of courses that we can offer on our program. So I mean, you know, if education regulation changes, we're allowed to award less credits for, let's say, thesis, we are able to add more courses and so forth. But again, as we said, we kind of listened to what everyone had, and that led to the selection, the 6 core courses that we offer. We have a 1-year program, academic year program, and that led to the selection of the 6 courses that we currently have, ranging from starting off with regulation, going through privacy, contracts, IP and technology, then going on to things like cybercrime and cybersecurity. That's a single course that we have, and ending with things like disruptive technology, which is basically the future or potential future of technology, discussing things like artificial intelligence, robotics, and potential consequences of that. And again, I think it's too little because one of your questions is, do all lawyers need to know technology? No, not all lawyers need to know technology. They have to be specialized. The field is bigger than a single lawyer. Yeah. And I think even within the field of legal technology, you're going to have different types of lawyers specializing in different areas. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, no one, I mean, even if we talk about, let's say, medical law, aside from biomedical technology, yeah, and the laws associated, we don't even have those programs in existence here in Latvia. And this is a challenge. So, I mean, you know, where do you start and finish? There is no start and finish. Yeah. So this is the challenge. I mean, we're trying to just get an overview, and this is primarily aimed at lawyers. But also, I mean, you do have a lot of people within, let's say, the startup scene who would come and sort of want to understand potential regulations that could be coming out that could affect their business. So yes, the main aim is for lawyers, but we do have some people, it's an academic program. We do have some people from the technology sector who are just curious as to what potential legal pitfalls or regulations could impact their potential businesses. And as Mārtiņ earlier said, I mean, you've got to have people who understand the various types of technology. Here, we're kind of working in the opposite way. You've got to have people who can potentially understand the legal restrictions that their technology may create or have. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe I can forward this question to Vadim. University of Latvia provides general programs, so maybe you can give us some insight on how do you choose whether or to what extent generalized programs need to contain these matters.
Thank you for this question. I hope you can hear me well. The problem here with specialization is that if our mission is to provide a comprehensive legal education with the aim at the end to get a lawyer's professional qualification, is how to ensure at the same time this specialization. Specialization should not be a self-aim, surely we can provide a specialized program. We have not refused, I mean, at the Faculty of Law has not refused from this idea. However, if we speak about specialized program, then where we will be with comprehensive legal education and professional lawyers degree. The problem also here is not so much in our program, I mean comprehensive program, but here also our students should understand the whole ability they have in our university to study those courses, because our students can choose courses from other faculties, including Faculty of Computing, where they offer different courses. I also chose courses from other faculties when I was a student. So students are offered those courses, and they can have those courses in other faculties, including Faculty of Computing, which would broaden their understanding and knowledge. But if we speak about those courses which we offer, I already mentioned the generalized course on IT law, and also we offer IT discussion of IT matters in our other courses. For instance, if we speak about civil law, then we have discussion of artificial knowledge, artificial intelligence. We have discussion of digital contracts in contract law courses. We have consumer protection law with discussion of specific consumer contracts concerning digital elements and so on. Therefore, at least in the current situation, this should be sufficient for students to get very good knowledge of IT matters. And one small thing to add, I know that my time is not unlimited, unfortunately, to discuss those matters. Several years ago, international foreign experts assessed our programs, and the recommendation from foreign experts was that we should concentrate on this comprehensive legal education course, because this specialization would deprive students of knowledge of more general issues. Because if you have knowledge of more general issues, you can then add specific knowledge, either in selecting courses from other faculties, and also while gaining practical knowledge. When students go to practice, because we have specific practice courses when students also work in or participate in work in law offices, in state institutions, and so on.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much for your insight and opinion. Maybe I can ask Liene, what is your view? Do you agree? Do you agree with Vadim that regarding the focus on generalized programs should be on preparing, providing education, which is will lead to the qualification at the end?
So from one side, yes and no. As we all already previously agreed, it's a very thin line to go too much into IT specialization and keep general law. So what we try to do in Turība University, at least in the programs which we have there, so we do not do like very specialized IT law programs. What we try to give in each of the subjects, this insight in this law court, if there is such, or give at least a practical insights in the field, but in the same time giving this support in data protection classes or intellectual property or even commercial law. We add special chapters about the e-commerce, giving this legal background, which we have already some regulation, and then adding more this technical execution, let's say like that, the students can be like really, as even Mārtiņš mentioned, this support already in a practice to technical persons, giving this legal support.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe we can turn to Mārtiņš. Maybe you can say about what you heard before, and then maybe then others also have something to say.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, going back to Vadim's comments about taking courses from other faculties, for example, I'm not a huge believer in this approach because, first of all, I'm not a practicing lawyer. I have a lawyer's degree, but I'm working in IT security as a penetration tester. So I'm more from a technical point of view, viewing these issues that we are discussing here. So I can guarantee that somebody who has a law degree won't understand anything if he goes to machine learning in, for example, technical university, because it's quite complicated and such subjects build on previous knowledge. You have to know algorithm statistics and etc. So this is why we created this custom-made course that's focused on security. We just blended everything that in our view, the security manager, for example, in company needs to know to be proficient and efficient in the job that he is doing. So I was one of the creators of this course, but basically the college already had previous courses to build upon, and they just wanted to add technology-specific courses. And in the end, this is what it came out, our program. So we are creating people that can be able to work on front lines as a managers, not like a policy makers. For example, if you're a policy maker in Ministry of Defense, absolutely, I agree, you don't need to know technology on very deep level because you are preparing policies and you are working on very high level. But if you are working in the front lines, for example, in an enterprise-grade company, you have to be quite specific actually on the answers that you are giving, and you cannot give those answers without at least some kind of technical proficiency. I heard that some other universities are also giving more practical courses like programming and stuff. We are doing the same, but actually in every technical course that we have in our college, the students are actually doing things very practically. If it's a programming, they are programming. Even if it's a simple script, at least they know what has been done there. If it's a attack or defense of the IT systems, they can try out on a very simple level, of course, but they can try out themselves. And that will give them competitive advantage when they go back to the companies and have to deal with technical people. And yeah, this was our approach. And you can teach only so much things in 2 years' time because we have a college degree program and it's only 2 years, including the thesis and including some practice in company. So it leaves like only a little bit more than a year to actually having the lectures. So this is also a limitation that we have to take into account.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, maybe Uldis, you can give your insight, and then I will give the opportunity to Waleed and Liisi maybe to comment on what you heard before, since Uldis also represents the Stradiņš University in more generalized program.
Thank you. In comparison with Estonia, I don't know what actual legal regulation is in Estonia concerning lawyers' education, but in Latvia we have very considerable changes. Since 2020, it was established a new lawyer professional standard, and all education's demands are focused related with this standard. It means that when we are teaching information technology, we should look how it would be benefit for lawyers standard actually. And the lawyer standard actually is paragraph 5.5 says that students will get knowledge about the problems of cyberspace regulation, sources of cyberspace law, open data, the applications, the legal field understanding, artificial intelligence, basics and rule of law, cybersecurity, and so on. But I would add that in order to get to be admitted to this course, for professional master's program, students require knowledge of the general theory of law, philosophy of law, logic. Students should have also knowledge of civil, constitutional law, administrative procedural law, legal methodology. This is how it works, really, because we should prepare students for this for professional standards. And finally, the student can get this lawyer's degree only when they will able to pass this legal exam, single legal exam. And I'm together with colleague Mantrovs, we participated in this event, and I'm saying it's amazing experience, and unfortunately not so happy experience, since 66% of students failed to pass this exam. But in order to pass this exam, students should get a very huge amount of knowledge, including IT knowledge. And it was especially highlighted by chairman of the State Examination Committee, Professor Ziemeles, that we should think more about not just create questions which requires for students to just state a date, a time, institution which issued a specific legislative act, but be creative, integrative, put the questions from other way, maybe starting from Kant imperative to put into this information technology matters, for instance, how it would be decided in terms of in relation with cyber security. Cyber security and cyber law, it's not possible to separate from other laws. That's why I'm personally saying that for lawyers, there are two kinds of logical thinking. Lawyers are thinking abstract logical thinking way. This is how you come to a specific conclusion based on legal logic. However, programmers use syntax logic, which is absolutely different mean of thinking. I participate and finish successfully. It's very hard for me. It was at my age, but I finished Riga graduate school Python and machine learning course, and I understood that it was extremely difficult to implement this knowledge somehow into students' our daily curriculum. That's why I'm saying that students should know at least for up to know. I didn't even find such documents which should say that market is demanding very narrow focused lawyers, for instance, which for lawyers for IT or lawyers for medicine or medical matters or so. No, we are just as academic education university, we should be responsible about preparing comprehensively thinking lawyer. This is my perception. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting to see, actually, yeah, all the limitations that we have in the educational system. Maybe Waleed, you have any comments and views on what you heard before?
Yes, absolutely. And I'd like to start by saying, Vadims, we'll still stay friends, yes, but I disagree with you. we are not here to replace this mandatory or let's say professional lawyers' jobs or exams or qualifications. There is absolutely nothing wrong for having more advanced and specialized courses beyond your basic 5 years of legal education. What I have seen, and of course, as Vadims mentioned and Uldis also just mentioned, 30-something% have just now passed the state exam for this lawyer's qualification. And what do you have? You have 30% of new graduating, 100% of new graduating lawyers with the same knowledge. How are they going to differentiate themselves in the marketplace? Law is not just civil, criminal, administrative. Yes, we are part of the European Union. We're part of the world. There are other laws that apply. In fact, as I said, earlier in our test sessions, I'm not a lawyer, but correct me if I'm wrong to the lawyers. All commercial law in Latvia is actually a direct transposition of EU law, right? And that is created by the European Union. Yeah, most of it anyway. And at the end of the day, as I said, there is nothing wrong for a lawyer who wants to upgrade and specialize. We have a 1-year academic program. A person with a 3-year bachelor degree cannot enter that program. A person with a professional master's degree can enter the program, which means they already have their lawyer's background and skills. So to make the assumption that specialized programs can substitute the traditional program, first of all, is a very wrong and dangerous assumption. Second of all, if there are people out there who can qualify for 1-year programs and don't necessarily want to have the legal qualification to be able to practice as an advocate or an attorney or a judge, but maybe are satisfied with being an in-house corporate lawyer or an in-house lawyer and wants the general education, I don't see anything wrong with that. Why should we deny people education? Yeah, there are people out there who simply just want to learn for their own interest. We are putting too much regulation and bureaucracy on and pigeonholing what potential students could be. Yeah. This is a problem. If I have a person who already has a master's and wants to understand legal challenges in technology, why shouldn't that person be able to come and study? If I have a lawyer who already has a qualification and wants to go more in depth in issues on, let's say, law and finance or technology law, yeah, or even general public international law, human rights, why should we deny them that right? It's not a substitute, it's a complementer. Yeah. Education is always ongoing. Yeah.
Thanks, Waleed. Liisi, did you have any more comments on that?
Yes, I'm really glad that Waleed went just before me because I completely agree with that. It's the same for Tartu University so it's a specialized program for a reason. You cannot enter it if you don't have the 5-year master's or the 4-year bachelor's in some countries. So that's the prerequisite even to enter the program. So I don't really see it as a competition between kind of a general program and the specialized program. So it's called a specialized program for a reason. And you go to it if you're interested in a topic that is there are topics such as technology that run horizontally through kind of the civil, criminal, administrative law silos, right? And so if you want to specialize in that, then students should be given the opportunity. So coming back to Vadim's comment that some of the general programs offer kind of these digital aspects with every course that students take, right? So there are digital aspects in civil law, digital aspects in criminal law, et cetera, et cetera. And that is all fine and well to kind of give them exactly what I said as a bird's eye view. And because technology has been penetrating our daily lives and law equally in all aspects, it's inevitable that all of the traditional law courses have to have at some point some aspect of digitalization included in them, right? That does not mean that these students are going to be full IT lawyers by the end of their 2-year masters, but that might create interest in further IT law topics that they can then come to the specialized program to specialize in. So I don't see it as a competition between the two programs. So for example, in the University of Tartu, what we offer for master students is if you're doing the 2-year regular masters and you're interested in some of the IT law topics that we're teaching in the IT law program, then, for example, they can take them as electives and see if this is something that they're interested in. Then they can come later and do the full program, right? And then transfer the courses that they've already done. So we're offering those for students that that are doing the regular master's program, but they want more, and they are kind of thinking if they want to specialize in IT law. So in that sense, I see it more so that the specialized programs and the general program need to have a synergy rather than competition. Thanks.
Thank you, Liisi. Hello, everyone. My name is Arina Stivriņa. I am also one of the founders of Legal Hackers Riga, and I am a practicing attorney. And I am proud to be a graduate of 2 of universities, representatives of which are present here today, of University of Latvia and also of University of Tartu. So my story as a lawyer was that I started to practice data protection, and I realized that I lack specialized knowledge about technology. And so I went on to get this knowledge in the University of Tartu. And now when I am sitting at the table where 2 IT guys are talking about exchanging strings, at least I know what exactly they're talking about. So, but returning to the topic of including technology courses into lawyers' education program, one question which we would like to explore today is what is the demand from the students? And first of all, I would like to ask this question to to universities who offer general lawyers education program. Vadim, could you comment on that? What is the demand for IT law subjects from general law education students?
By taking opportunity, I would just to react to previous comments. Surely, I'm not enemy of any of presenting colleagues. We are still with Waleed friends. But what I wish to say is that we are not in dispute that there is general programs offering general education, and there are specialized programs, and it is very difficult actually to compare them. It is not possible to compare them, just because each of these programs pursues its own aim. If we return to the question which was asked to me, students at our faculty are interested in IT matters, and that's why they can study, as I said, IT matters in a specific course. They can also study those matters in other courses. Surely, I agree with opinion expressed by my colleague, Mr. Ķinis, that we need to provide general understanding of these issues. Students must understand and think concerning those issues, not only just mechanically knowledge all those issues. And therefore, our students have this interest. I don't have any data whether Latvian market in general requires a general program in IT, but I guess that ours currently receive good understanding and good knowledge of IT matters. And also this knowledge is demonstrated by their studies. I mean, bachelor thesis, master thesis, and also in moot courts. Thank you.
Vadim, but could you share with us how many takers of this IT law course, which you offer to general lawyers program students, currently there are, or was in the previous year?
To be honest, I don't have this data, so I cannot provide specific number. But I don't think that there are very huge number of these students.
Okay, thank you, Vadim. I also know that Uldis has an opinion about interest of students towards specialized IT law course. Maybe could you please elaborate on this?
Yes. Until 2018, it was mandatory course, and all students should pass this course and pass exams and all exercises in order to get a diploma. But since these changes in legal education, program also significantly changed and was shifted to the selective course. Unfortunately, due to COVID time also, and maybe to other things, but last year students did not express willingness to participate in this course. That's why, for time being, it was. I'm just cannot say how many students will take interest in this year, of course.
But Stradiņš University is offering this course this fall again, right?
Yes. It is selective course. It is included into curricula, and but the question is that especially in this COVID times, the students must work distantly, and it's very difficult for even for lecturers and students to do some just ordinary things and just do something. Add more, it's too more difficult because all focus is for preparing them to pass this single state exam. Thanks.
Thank you, Uldis. Liene, what about Turība University? Is Turība University experiencing demand from students for IT law course?
Not exactly as a separate course, but what we all feel in our lectures, that students want to understand more of. It's of course the COVID effect, this remote and digital world, how actually it works, and we're getting more and more questions about that. For example, even e-commerce, which is now the part of the commercial law, which we see a really, really big interest from the students. The same about the data protection, which we know raises a lot of questions, even after the GDPR states everything, but we have more and more new issues which we faced actually in the COVID time. So, and that's actually brings the demand. And I think what is important that in each university, each of our teachers actually bring this awareness and develops the interest that actually the world is changing and the business is changing, and the lawyers is always a support of the businesses or the governments or private sector and public sector. And that's why building this awareness, it will bring the demand, and definitely it will change a lot of courses from the classical law, how we teach it, keeping it there, but little bit changing maybe the mindset and the way how the lawyers look at the world outside.
Okay, thank you, Liene. And now addressing this question to universities who offer specialized courses, have you seen increase in demand for the specialized IT law programs? And also, maybe as a side question, do you think there is increased demand from industries, from employers, from law firms, from governments for lawyers which are educated in IT law? Liisi, maybe you could elaborate on that.
Of course. So from our part, what we can say is that, so every year we have 25 spots for the specialized one-year program, right? Every year, as I said, we also allow some of the 2-year master students to take the courses as electives. And every year for every course, we always get people from the generalized master's program taking some of our courses as well. Sometimes they don't have interest to do the whole program, but they have interest, for example, in e-commerce or IT contracts or IP law or AI and law. So they're taking, so a lot of the spots that are left over from our 1-year students are taken up by the 2-year master students who want to gain further awareness of a certain topic. So we're definitely seeing that interest from them in all of the courses that we offer. Of course, we have seen also the kind of the effect of the past 1 year of their students being kind of less brave traveling to Tartu and actually spending a year there. But I think overall the demand is still there. And I think at least in Estonia, and I cannot speak for Latvia, for example, but I think in Estonia, the employers, be they governmental or private sector, they are encouraging people. If it's an IT company, for example, they are encouraging their people to gain that specific knowledge. What we've also seen from our alumni, for example, is that even if they weren't working, so they were working at a ministry, for example, or at a law firm, a lot of them after graduating our program have actually gone to work in tech companies as in-house counsels. So it, on the one hand, there is a demand for our graduates who have already an IT law specialization. On the other hand, we see also some employers encouraging their students to go and get that specialized education if they have an interest in that, and also bring thereby their professional experience into the program as well, because that's a practical experience that's valuable for other students. So we've had people from law firms, people from ministries coming and gaining that specialized knowledge.
Thank you, Liisi, for a detailed answer. Waleed, what do you think of the demand for a IT law program?
Well, I'd like to begin by saying we're a very small school in relation to my colleagues who are represented here. Mārtiņš, I'm sorry, but I don't know how many students you have overall, but if we compare ourselves or the RGSL to, let's say, Turība or Stradiņš or University of Latvia, we're the equivalent of probably even half a faculty as an entire school. So we're not that big. I'm reluctant to give an exact figure, but let's just say because we are a small school, we are also private. We don't receive any state financing for any of our programs. Demand is there, otherwise we wouldn't be running the programs. So we are subjected to the market forces, and I can say that we are already, as I said, started the 3rd intake since we launched the program 3 years ago. So the demand is there. And I can add that it is probably one of our more popular programs. In terms of the makeup of students, I would say, yes, the majority of them are already students who have received their qualification and are working in law firms. However, there are students who are coming from the public sector, not as much as I would like to see personally, because I think this is the area where they definitely need the people with the expertise and the knowledge. But there are people from the public sector. There are some from the technology sector as well. As Liisi mentioned, those who are working as in-house counsel for tech firms and so forth. The majority certainly are lawyers working for the firms. And some of them are doing it, as I said, some students, this is their, for a lot of students, this is their 2nd master's. For some, even their 3rd master's, believe it or not, just because it's an area that they feel is up and coming and want to be sort of ahead of the game. So yes, there is demand. And as long as there's demand, we'll keep supplying.
Thank you, Waleed. We have seen that all the universities think that demand is there, and the demand actually will increase probably in the future. And also, I would, as a last but not least speaker, I would address this question to Mārtiņš. Mārtiņš, what you have seen in terms of your specialized program?
Okay, well, first thing, let's be honest. Why do students choose this or that degree? Because that will earn them a paycheck. It's not always about the knowledge. It's sometimes, or mostly, I don't know, it depends. But at least in our college, because the courses are, these programs are quite short, so students are looking, okay, what will I get out of it? If I take a 2 years course in our college, can I go immediately and start working in the industry? Or do I have to take additionally 3 or 4 or 5 years and complement my education? So our approach is that you come to our college, you get the degree, and you can start working. Afterwards, of course, you are free to go and complement your academic knowledge with bachelor's, master's, or even PhD. That's not a question. So this is what actually our students are looking for. And about the specific subjects, of course, they are always questioning whether this or that subject is relevant to things that I will encounter when I start working in a company, for example. And this is what we actually what we were trying to do and accomplish when we created this program. So we took out everything that is not directly relevant. It's nice to have a lot of things in the program, of course, but you have to choose. So we chose only the practical ones because our program is oriented to the management. Basically, if you come out of our program, you can work as a manager. You're not strictly a lawyer, but you are educated in both of these worlds enough to be efficient in a company. Because I'm an example, I have a military background, I have an academic education in law, and I work in IT. It's just a multidisciplinary world and the job market that demands it. And it's absolutely normal to transfer from one field to other by complementing your education. And employees are only giving praise to that. It's not like, as Uldis said, nobody is demanding a super specialized person anymore. If you are an academic person, okay, you have a path like bachelor's, master's, and PhD. But if you just want to work in specific industry, in very specialized field, you actually have to be a multidisciplinary guy or a girl, more than just to be super specialized in something.
Okay, Mārtiņš, thank you very much. I'm coming back into the discussion. Actually, Liene brought up a very good topic of pandemics and how it has been changing the current views on how the education should look like and which topics are popular. So based within the context of the COVID and based on the demand of the market in specific lawyers, how do you think, what is the must-know standard for the current lawyers in IT field, so that you can tell that our students are the best because they know this, and this that is related to the IT field, and they have enough proficiency and knowledge in this digital age legal reality. So maybe we can start with Uldis.
Thank you. I even don't know from which point to start. Last year I did some survey for bachelor students, which comes to first course, and it means that they already graduated secondary school after millennium, so say new millennials. It means that they should be skillful programmers or get also good digital literacy. However, survey shows that only 10% of students recognize that they are capable to write do some programming, let's say. And concerning other things, it would be very wrongful to say that only this course is, only this special course would be cover all things which is related with digital environment, including hardware, software, and etc. Because as Vadim already mentioned, in each subject where lecturers teach, they use different case laws. Of course, even in constitutional law, we are now talking about digital casinos law, which was closed during COVID, and there was discussion about this. Even such situations, all time we are trying to include in different ways. For instance, we have special police science course where students study special subjects for cyber crimes, for special actions and digital environment, how to collect and gather electronic evidence, and etc., etc. Because it is, they are focused only on police matters mostly. But in digital way, not so many judges are much interested how this digital evidence has been gathered, or whether the judge interested in seeing whether it is legally made, done, or illegally. This is a question what the judge have interest. Others, and even I can give you one example. Maybe it's a little bit, I'm a step back from this question, but I can say that we put a lot of efforts in order to train current official judges, prosecutors on just basic matters. What is the data? What is the data protection? What is information? What is information system security? Such things we are training, because there was a court judgment when coins was considered as a data, you see, in the judgment. And of course, we should make a lot of efforts in order to change a court practice and do some things. And this is how academic university should deal with these things. Just give to students more comprehensive knowledge of this all matters, because you cannot explain separately what is artificial intelligence. And particularly, I'm very skeptical about things that everything shall be regulated. I'm absolutely skeptical about this, because we have technological neutrality principle, actually. It means that existing law, we can also maybe try to apply against existing legal situation, the existing digital situation. And this is how we are trying to explain to students that how digital environment interferes in the legal field. But concerning, this is also maybe my answer, what students must know in nearest future. Not maybe that artificial intelligence created a black box principle, for instance, and everybody started to talk about black box principles, that nobody knows what is it, but this is a black box principle. But we should teach students that the lawyers can control data, incoming and outputting data. We cannot control data which is storing into a computer system and which is actually working in this machine learning process. We cannot do it. Even the Supreme Court of United States decided we are not dealing with matters which is related with computer code. We cannot deal with this. It's
Yes.
yeah. This is that's why my perception is that we cannot, even in such general education, we cannot push students to go very deeply into these processes. But nevertheless, but meanwhile, I would like to say that, of course, students should have general knowledge what is written here in this digital program, that digital students should be digitally literal. It means that he should get some knowledge about how technical, logical things, how cyberspace has been established, that there is a logical level, those physical level, technical level, and so on and so forth. This is how we are teaching our students, actually. And I'm saying that the future not so much will change on this matter, at least for nearest future. Thanks.
Thank you, Uldis, very much. Liisi, maybe you can now elaborate on what is the list of your must-know for COVID, pandemics, and digital age lawyers?
Thank you so much. Well, I think COVID. I think from our program, COVID didn't kind of highlight one specific topic that came more to the forefront. Of course, people staying at home, they're more interested in e-commerce and regulation around that. It kind of, the interest in different topics was in the past year, I think, driven by the need, right? So we have the information security course where students became much more aware when they had to use online resources of the security needs using those resources as well. Definitely what was brought to the forefront, and luckily we have a course on public e-services in Estonia, the whole kind of a realm of different e-services, public e-services that we can use, because the COVID time saw us saw the world changing, as Liene said, right? So the world changing, and so the businesses changing, but so also the governmental sector changing. So for example, in Estonia, as of the COVID time, we started implementing for the first time e-notary, right? So previously you needed to go physically to the notary's office to buy a house, get married, get divorced. And now, as of the COVID time, suddenly this new public e-service was rolled out, that you can do all that online now. And so that raised several questions for our students as well. And of course, everything related to cybersecurity and information security was brought inevitably to the forefront as well. But I think what was emphasized by the COVID time, more so than specific IT law topics, is kind of the underlying current of digital skills of lawyers that were definitely emphasized during the COVID times. And luckily, from our program's perspective, we can say that students gain a decent level of digital skills as well, alongside IT law knowledge.
Okay, Liisi, thank you. Waleed, maybe you can now tell why your students could be the best within the current situation of pandemics.
In all honesty, I don't think that there is a single course that I would say that was the student's favorite or less favorite. With the COVID times, of course, last year we went online, as did pretty much every other single university, and the studies continued. The interest didn't wane or increase in one specific subject or another. But I think the problem became more of an administrative problem for us as a university in order to be able to ensure that we are compliant with all the GDPR requirements. So there are things, for example, there were situations where teachers and students wanted the online lecture recorded for revision purposes. So considerations there, consent of everybody that was in the classroom, where the recordings will be stored, how long, who can access them, and so forth. These more were, let's say, administrative headaches rather than a headache for the students, but also legal requirement by the university to comply with. Otherwise, we would have found ourselves in a lot of trouble. there were examples where not our university, but let's say another university that is our neighbor basically wanted to obtain lists of students and so forth, or keep records of students coming in and out of the building during the lockdown. And again, that also presented a legal challenge from a data protection purpose. How are they going to manage those? So there were these challenges. I think it was more administrative for us, not so much in terms of the content for students. If we were talking about the question that was fielded here is must know within the nearest future, topic that the students must know, I will come back to you and say, well, it depends on who or what area of law that student is studying. Yeah. If, like yourself, Anna, I mean, you are a DPO, you know, you would probably more interested in the privacy and data protection course, sort of data protection and privacy course that we offer. But that doesn't mean that you will be less interested in, let's say, digital regulation or cybercrime, cybersecurity. But if you had a lawyer, for example, from the Ministry of Defense, I think definitely they would choose the cybercrime, cybersecurity as their number one sort of interesting course. So it all depends on the person taking the course and their own expertise. I mean, of course, there are going to be, for every single student, one course that's going to define, I think, their academic year over other courses, because that's why they came, or at least this is an area that really sort of triggers them in a way. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you, Waleed. Mārtiņš, maybe you now, as a more IT person, can tell us how do you see the future lawyers? What do you think they would need in the future to understand IT persons and to work with them?
Well, I would say I don't think every lawyer in future needs to know everything there is about technology. Even though technology is interconnected in our daily lives, this is not the case with the general lawyers or classical understanding of lawyer, but definitely those lawyers that want to pursue this, not only cybersecurity law, but you see, the security is mostly about data protection, and that is, I mean, technical security. So we are protecting data. If you want to protect the data, then it's very interlinked with data protection and GDPR and stuff. So if you want to go into this area, I absolutely think that, yes, you need to have better understanding about technical side as well. This is why we introduced those technical subjects in our program. And yeah, because if you want to talk about these topics on very general level or high level, if you say, then it's not that case. But if you want to work on the front lines, definitely you will need to have more technical understanding, like we are having the introduction on computer science, fundamentals of programming, attack tools and methods. These are the things that will give you the competitive edge as a lawyer, definitely. It doesn't do any harm.
Okay, thank you. Vadims, how do you think, has pandemic somehow changed the way how the education of lawyers was happening in the University of Latvia in terms of also the interest in IT law programs?
If we speak about students, about the change of students' interest in one or another topic due to COVID, then surely we may see that there is higher students' interest in those issues which are related to related to similar to different IT matters, because if we speak about COVID, then there was a shift from sale in our usual regular shops to online sales. There was also higher use of technologies and also artificial intelligence, and there was also a higher use of different digital services. Therefore, surely this triggered the interest from the side of our students to pay more attention to those issues. Not only different infringements which took place in the cyberspace, but also concerning conclusion and the contents of digital contracts about liability and so on. Therefore, surely there was a change. I cannot say that it was huge change, but still we feel this change in students' interest. And if we speak about what students should know about these IT matters, then surely they should understanding of IT matters, and they should know how those IT matters operate in general and also in specific fields, and they should know how to apply relevant regulation involving inter alia also IT matters. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you. And Liene, finally, you have already mentioned that there was a rising interest in specific subjects. Do you think any other comments about these must-know standards within the current reality?
You know, there is not such a box where you can put all the knowledge you need to have in this real life reality or post-COVID reality. But I think what is most important for students to have this, first of all, logical and critical thinking, systematic thinking, because if we look at the future, then there will be a lot of technology that replaces what classical lawyers do, like, I don't know, drafting the contracts or making a due diligence. The lawyer would be behind that process, going critically through the results. And actually, the lawyer needs to be the added value nowadays to the public and private sector by evaluating the risks, the business risks, the law risks, which he has from his knowledge. And that's why there's this complex of right thinking and the way of thinking. I think that's the essential for future lawyers.
Okay, thank you very much, Liene. Now Liva is back in the studio, and Marina as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Unfortunately, as we can see, the time has run out too quickly. I think we had still many questions we could discuss. We actually also had a question sent to us by Facebook about AI and responsibility, but I think we will have to deal with it in some of our next events. That's definitely a topic we will have a discussion on. But I would like to use this opportunity to thank you all for joining us today. I think it was very valuable discussion, and I think it highlighted many issues that actually impact the delivery of technology-related courses to law students, and definitely all of these aspects could actually be subject of separate discussions. Yeah, there are different issues, from the incentives to provide specialist knowledge to demand from market and industry, and actually which impacts the courses to teach, and about the digital literacy of law students in general, and which obviously also the framework of higher education and policy in general, which impacts how the makeup of the curricula of the courses. So it was very interesting, and thanks again to all the participants. I hope you viewers also enjoyed this discussion, and I hope you will join also us to our future events. We also have posted a Google form in the comments, so please do fill it out. We will be really appreciative if you could give us feedback on this event, so that we can so that we can see our feedback and take it into account. Okay, yeah, thank you very much once again, and hopefully, yeah, see you soon. Bye.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.